All right, so solving inequalities is the same thing as solving equations. The only difference is an equation has an equal sign. An inequality has a less than or greater than or less than or equal to or greater than or equal to sign, aka also known as an inequality sign. All right, so the solving is no different. Okay, the only thing that's different is we have to graph it. Sometimes we have to flip the sign, but we'll get to that. Okay, we won't get to that just yet. All right, so I'm going to pause this and then write down some problems. All right, so golly, so we're going to solve these. The first one is 2m minus 3 is less than or equal to 11. So you solve them the exact same way as you do an equation. I'm going to draw that line down the middle. I've got 2m minus 3 and 11. So our goal is to isolate the variable, meaning we want to get that m right there all by itself, okay, by always doing inverse operations, okay, and always dealing with the variable last. So the first thing that we want to move is that minus 3 by just doing the inverse or opposite, adding 3. Just like fractions, do the same thing to both sides. Okay, so add 3 to both sides. A negative 3 and a positive 3 is 0. And then 2m is now left all by itself. We have less than or equal to, and 11 plus 3 is 14. Okay, so the m is not by itself. We have not isolated the variable yet. So 2m means 2 times m, right? So what's the opposite of multiplying by 2? It's dividing by 2. Dividing by 2. So all we're left with is 1m less than or equal to 14 divided by 2 is 7. Okay, so all we have to do is draw a number line. Nice, easy number line. You don't have to go crazy. So we've got our 0. Whoa, sorry. We have our 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. Is it equal to 7? Less than or equal to 7? Yes, it is. Okay, but it's not just equal, it's also everything less than 7. Everything less is to the left. Okay, that's supposed to be an arrow. There you go. All right, so feel free to pause it right now and try the rest of these. I will tell you number 3 will throw you off a little bit, and number 4 is definitely going to throw you off. Okay, but if you want to pause and at least try number 2, do that now. All right, number 2, x divided by 5 minus 2 is greater than 17. Remember, that's not a fraction, x fifth, it's x divided by 5. We want to isolate the variable. The variable is the x. We want to get that by itself by doing inverse operations. So what's the opposite of a minus 2? Plus 2. Plus 2. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So x divided by 5 is greater than, remember, negative 2 and positive 2, that's just 0, so you just mark it out. 17 plus 2 is 19. Okay? All right, so this is dividing by 5. X divided by 5. What's the opposite of dividing by 5? Multiplying by 5. Okay? Multiplying by 5. So this would end up, and remember, if we do it to one side, we have to do it to the other. So we're going to multiply both sides by 5. This right here on the left, that is going to end up being just 1x. All right? I'm going to prove that to you real quick. Please do not do this on any assignment that you get. So 5 times x is just 5x. And 1 times 5 is just 5. So if we simplify that, 5 over 5, isn't that just 1? With that x on it, it's 1x. Okay? So, but the way that we write that, we don't put 1x, we just put x. Okay, so x is greater than 19 times 5. Let's do that in our head. 10 times 5 is 50, right? 9 times 5 is 45. So if we put those together, that's 95. Okay. We also have to graph that. We're going to do this super easy. We're not going to go crazy, okay? So let's just think about number before and after 95. So let's do 94, 95, and 96. All right, is it equal to 95? No, it's not. It's only greater. So if it's not equal, then it just gets a circle. All right? Is it everything bigger or smaller than 95? It's everything bigger, and everything bigger is to the right. Okay? Number 3, 8 is greater than negative 4 plus 6m. Do we really mind what side the variable is on? No, not really. It's not that big a deal. Typically, we want to read the variable first whenever it comes time to graphing it. All right, and we'll talk about that here in a second. So I'm just going to draw my line. I want to get the m by itself by doing inverse operations. What's the opposite of minus 4? Plus 4. You do it to one side, you got to do it to both. So we've got 12. It's greater than, remember negative 4 and positive 4, it's just 0, then 6m. Okay? Golly, that's ugly. So 6 times something is 12, right? We already know it's 2. But let's just do inverse operations. Get that 6 by itself. The opposite of the m by itself. The opposite of multiplying by 6 is dividing by 6. So you get 12 divided by 6, which is 2. And 2 is greater than m. All right, so here's where we need to really think. Let's always read what m is, or always read what the variable is compared to. Okay? So if we were to, I'm going to rewrite that a little bit so it's a little neater. 2 is greater than m. Okay? But let's not start with that. Let's always start with the variable. What I mean by that is let's always start reading the variable first. So if you read the variable first, is m smaller or greater than 2? M is smaller than 2, right? So m, I'm going to go ahead and draw that number line. We've got 0, 1, and 2. So what is m? M is at 2, right? So is it equal to 2? No, it is not equal. Not equal. So, but if you read it the correct way, is m smaller than 2 or bigger than 2? It is smaller, meaning less than, right? So m, come on. So m is everything less than 2. Okay, that'll trip you up sometimes. All right, then the last one. It's a rule that I will, well, sometimes we need to. All right, anyways, there's a rule in this next one that's a little strange. So it's dividing by a negative, okay? No, it's not. What did I miss? I think I missed a sign on that one. No, I didn't. Oh, I don't like that. All right, so I'm going to rewrite number 4 because I don't like it. Okay? All right, I redid number 4 because I didn't like the one that was written there. Anyway, so number 4 says negative 4t is greater than or equal to 12. And then I wrote a little note over there to the side that says when you multiply or divide by a negative, the inequality flips. So anytime that we are multiplying or dividing by a negative that is an inequality, meaning it has a greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to sign, that sign is always going to flip. Okay? So what that means is, let's look at number 4. It's negative 4t is greater than or equal to 12. So just follow your same directions that you already know. Draw that line down the middle. Pay attention to what the variable is. The variable is t. Okay, that's what we want to isolate and get by itself. All right, so we're multiplying by negative 4t. What's the opposite of multiplying by negative 4? It's dividing by negative 4. So we're going to divide by negative 4. Just like fractions, if you do it to one side, you got to do it to the other. Okay? Divide both sides by negative 4. All right, so over here we end up with just a positive 1t, right? But we don't have to write 1t, we can just put t. And 12, positive 12 divided by negative 4, a positive divided by a negative is a negative, and that's a negative 3. So here is the difference. We divided by a negative, and it's an inequality. Or we multiplied by a negative, it doesn't matter. Whether you multiply or divide, it flips. Okay, so what that means is this is no longer going to be greater than or equal to. Instead, it is now going to flip around to less than or equal to. Okay? Just flipping that sign. Alright, so let's try, let's do another one. Yeah, I've got enough time on here. So let's try, here we go. What did that one? Okay, let's do negative x divided by 3 plus 2 greater than or equal, what is that, 4? To negative 4. Yeah. To negative 4. All right, that's a good 7th grade inequality problem right there. All right, but again, it's just one thing at a time. Okay, don't get overwhelmed. And I know we do that sometimes. So draw that line down the middle. Our inequality is right there. I mean, our variable is right there. Okay, so we want to deal with that last. We want to isolate it, get it by itself by doing inverse operations. So the opposite of plus 2 is minus 2. I do it to both sides. Minus 2. Okay? So we now have negative x divided by 3 greater than or equal to, and negative 4 and a negative 2 is negative 6. Alright? So instead of multiplying by 3, we are going to divide. Or, I'm sorry. Instead of negative x divided by 3, what's the inverse? What's the opposite? Multiply by 3. So we're going to take this whole fraction. We're going to multiply it by 3. We know that that's going to end up as negative x, right? Because we're still going to have that negative. It's not going to change. We've got a positive times a negative. Is greater than or equal to, multiply this side times 3 as well. So that is negative 18. Okay, so what do we have left? This is where we struggle sometimes. We have negative x. We can't leave it like that. How many x's are there? 1. So you could write right there a 1, okay, to where it says negative 1x is greater than 18. But what does negative 1x mean? Doesn't that mean negative 1 times x? Yes, it does. So we can't have that negative over there. We have to divide by the negative 1. Both sides by negative 1. Now what kind of x do we have left? We have a positive x, and negative divided by a negative is a positive, so negative 18 divided by negative 1 is 18. And remember the sign. Did we just divide by a negative? Yes, we did. Yes, we did. So you've got to flip that sign around. And you're done.